Well, the majority judgment was delivered by 7 of the court's judges. 2 judges dissented in a minority judgment, saying that Jacob Zuma deserved a suspended sentence. Now, that would have meant he would not have served time unless he committed another offence or broke the terms of the suspension. To discuss, we're joined by Cathleen Powell, who is Associate Professor of Public Law at the University of Cape Town. Professor, thank you for being with us. The Constitutional Court has accused Jacob Zuma of unprecedented contemptuous behaviour, and this judgment in many ways must be unprecedented itself.
Oh, it is unprecedented. It was dealing with a situation that I think nobody could have imagined when the Constitution was drawn up. And the majority judgment makes it clear that there was absolutely no judicial precedent to call on directly in order to decide what the sentence should be. But I think the reasoning as to why it should be imprisonment was very well explained. And I must add, you've just referred to the minority judgment. The minority judgment makes it clear that it also supports imprisonment. And in fact, it doesn't insist that the sentence be suspended. Its problem was merely that it thought a separate criminal process should be taken through the courts for that sentence to be imposed.
Okay, to find if he's guilty of contempt, is that correct?
The issue there was because the sentence is just punitive. So it's not even trying to get Zuma to go back to the commission. It's simply punishing him for his conduct thus far. The minority judgment says this is just a criminal process, and therefore it should go through a criminal trial proceeding where the accused is actually present and where the accused has a chance to represent himself and get all the rights that are guaranteed by the Constitution. But the majority said in response that contempt of court is in fact a hybrid mixture of civil and criminal proceedings, and the Constitutional Court has in the past accepted its existence, and it's important that the court itself is able to protect the way it runs, and the way it can do that is by issuing a sentence for contempt of court.
Yeah. Well, doesn't this relate to the options the State Capture Commission had in the first place? I think it could have opened a case with police. Apparently the Hawks were already investigating some sort of contempt case. Then there would have had to be an investigation and a trial, but this was the option to go straight to the court, and it certainly seems now the most effective option, doesn't it?
Well, that was the argument of the Commission before the Constitutional Court, is we've got to have an effective response to a serious and ongoing violation of the court's authority and disrespect for the court's dignity. And that was one of the reasons the majority also didn't want to delay. But the crisis it was trying to address was not that Zuma wasn't talking to the Commission. The crisis was that he was encouraging all of South Africa to disrespect both the Commission and the courts, and that he was making scurrilous accusations of judges without any evidence to back it up. And this is starting to influence how people are thinking, and that had to be dealt with quickly. So yes, it has been effective.
Yeah, the court says he didn't serve himself well, because then he was asked to give some legal ideas if he was found in contempt. So the court was saying he could have spoken mitigation of sentence, but he rather wrote a long letter, and it sounds like the court didn't appreciate that. How do you think his lawyers fared? Was he getting good advice here? I think in April, his attorney, Eric Mabuza, withdrew, and that was in relation to the corruption trial, and there's been a lot of ructions with his legal representation overall.
I would love to be a fly on the wall of Zuma's meetings with his lawyers, because I don't think they can in good conscience make some of the arguments they've been making on his behalf, because they must know. For example, the argument that that Judge Zondo's refusal to recuse himself and the fact that Zuma then took that on review would somehow make Zuma not have to go to the commission. Everybody knows that's rubbish. But that argument continued to be brought even, not to the Constitutional Court, of course, because Zuma didn't bother to pitch at the Constitutional Court, but that argument was made in the public over and over and over again, and it's simply not true. So I don't know, maybe Zuma's not listening to his lawyers. On the other hand, they are the ones drawing up those heads of argument. Or maybe they are maybe they are assisting him to address an audience that is not in fact the courts, but is Zuma's own fan base, because so many of those arguments are legally simply untenable.
A sentence now is one thing, 15 months, but we know how it works. You can be given parole. Do we have any idea how long he could actually spend behind bars?
I don't. I must pass on that question. I was discussing it with colleagues this morning, and somebody said, well, what does that mean in real terms, a 15-month sentence? And there is a guideline for that, but I'm afraid it's not in my area. He certainly does not necessarily have to sit for 15 months, provided, of course, his behavior is good and that he shows some contrition for his conduct, which is, at the moment, not looking likely.
And then everyone, asked, in connection with his corruption trial, what if there is a guilty verdict? Does he lose his pension and benefits? This would count as a criminal, a behind bars sentence. Surely that could affect things?
Nope, he gets his president's pension the whole time because he hasn't been impeached by Parliament. And it's only once Parliament impeaches you that you lose those benefits. And in fact, it's too late to impeach him because the Constitution only allows for a sitting president to be impeached. So he's assured of that generous pension for the rest of his life, whether he's in prison or out.
All right, very interesting. Thank you very much, Cathleen Powell, Associate Professor Public Law at the University of Cape Town. Thank you for being with us tonight. And we're bringing you more reaction in response to this incredible judgment by the Constitutional Court saying that the former President Jacob Zuma must go to jail within the next 5 days for a 15-month term. Like she was saying, that doesn't necessarily mean he will have to serve that entire time. We'll bring you more reaction, more analysis after a short break.